So amidst all the craziness of what's happening right now in the Middle East with Israel, Hamas, Iran, Hezbollah, I really wanted to take a moment just to step back and zoom out a bit and take a bit of an aerial view. And sometimes, we can get so bogged down in the details of what's happening that sometimes we can miss the wood for the trees, not see the bigger picture and the bigger messages that are coming out here. And one of those messages is what I wanted to pick up on today. I've done some previous kind of zooming out videos. For example, recently I did a video about the word Hamas and what it actually means and the biblical implications there, which you can check out. I did one about October 7th and biblical Torah prophecy, and zooming out and thinking about what this means. But today I wanted to talk about another aspect of this war that was kickstarted after the massacre that occurred on October 7th. Because they chose to name their operation, Hamas, they chose to name their operation the Al-AQSA Flood. Al-AQSA refers to Jerusalem, the Temple Mount, the compound of Islamic mosques on the Temple Mount, and their vision, their aim was to get to this area, conquer Israel basically, God forbid, and establish their Islamic fascistic state. And I want to think about the implications here and the meaning here, because I think there's a critical lesson that we can take from this. There's something remarkable about Jewish history in that sometimes it's our enemies, our greatest enemies, who understand us best, who maybe sometimes awaken or reawaken ourselves to who we really are, to our own identity. Goodness knows we've seen that happen in the aftermath of October 7th, where so many Jews, sometimes unwillingly, have had to face a reckoning with their Jewish identity. Whether it's because they're on campus and suddenly it becomes an issue, whether it's because they're in Israel and it's just they realize the threat they're under. But a slightly earlier example of this is that perhaps the greatest anti-Semite of all, certainly in modern times, Adolf Hitler. Hitler said to Hermann Rauschning, a German who was allied with him, who ended up working for the Allies, he was documented as saying to him, the Jews invented moral conscience. He said they inflicted two wounds on mankind, conscience on its soul and circumcision on its body. And I'm here to free and liberate humanity from the shackles of morality which he believed were holding mankind back. To be honest, his words are, I consider, a badge of honor. Because, yes, that is who the Jewish people are. We believe that no, social Darwinism is not the ideal for mankind, and actually there is a plan for us, a divine plan for us, which is that God wishes to dwell in our lives, and the world he wishes to see, and the kind of God he is one that is compassionate, that cares for the weak, the vulnerable, the needy, that doesn't put ourselves first, but puts others first, which is what God himself does in creating the world. And so the Jewishness and the meaning of Jewishness is sometimes realized only by, or most by, our enemies. And we come to realize, wow, well, if people with such dark, evil ideology see the Jews as their greatest enemy, well, what does that say about us? And we start to face a reckoning with our own identity. And I think another such example has taken place here. Hamas didn't see as their number one target the Knesset, Tel Aviv, or other areas that they see as representing the Jews. They call it the Al-Aqsa Flood. They want to get there. What is there? Well, note that they've built mosques on top of two prior Jewish temples of thousands of years ago. So for anyone that says that we're the colonialists, well, if you build on top of someone else, you're the colonialist. But nevertheless, this temple represents really the pinnacle of the Jewish mission, which is when we had a functioning temple, which is what we're praying for and planning for, the re-establishment of the temple, the third temple. God is in some way far more tangibly present in the world. This is meant to be his home, so to speak, where he dwells in this temple, and we have a partnership with God in this world, a direct one. And that's what the Jewish people were charged to do and to be vessels for the voice of God in the world through his Torah. See, they're telling us who we really are. That's who we really are. That's what they really see us in as is why they oppose us. I think it's so critical to understand this, because this is only by understanding this are we actually able to address our enemies. Why are they so focused on this? Well, you have to understand what's going on through their heads. The Islamic and Islamist vision of the world is that the Jews have been rejected by God, evidenced by the fact they've been wandering the earth, persecuted, oppressed, paying the jizya tax in Arab and Islamic lands. And they are the new vehicles and vessels for God's will and God's voice, and they are the new chosen of God. And only through their path of the Quran can you have salvation, etc., etc. Even though, by the way, Judaism and the Torah was never about salvation. It's about serving God, not him serving us. But nevertheless, that's their vision. And so this is very strongly evidenced when Islam is expanding in the world. But when it's contracting, very threatening to their worldview. And certainly when the Jewish people return to their homeland after thousands of years, consider how threatening that must be. They've returned. Maybe God never forsook his covenant with them. In fact, I've never understood this. God's forsaken the Jews and his covenant, but he said it's an eternal covenant, an eternal, everlasting covenant. If you can break something and stop it, then it's not eternal. God doesn't break his word. So that's their vision, and they've got two choices when the Jews re-establish sovereignty. Number one is you say, well, maybe we need to have a theological reassessment, which is, by the way, what a lot of Christians have done, certainly in the evangelical world. Number two is you say, no, that this is a test from God and we have to destroy it. Does this not now explain everything that's been happening over the last century? But understand this, it is religious, not political. That's why they call it the Al-Aqsa flood. That's why this is their focus, Jerusalem, the Temple Mount. It is not about the fact that they want self-determination and they feel displaced, because if it was, this would have been solved a long time ago. And all their complaints are so self-evidently self-inflicted to garner international sympathy to undermine Israel. That's the only objective here. So we need to understand this. That's what our enemies are telling us. And what they're saying has a truth to it. Ultimately, we are not in Israel because it's our indigenous homeland and we have a right to be there legally and self-determination and protection. All those things may be valid points, but the ultimate reason why we're here in the land is because of our divine mission. And I see it as no coincidence that the October 7th massacre happened on Simchat Torah when we were reading the start of the Torah once again. Jews around the world were reading it. And it begins with, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. And the very first comment of the most famous Torah commentator, Rashi, says, why did God begin with this, with the creation of the world? Why didn't he begin with the first commandment? This isn't a history book. It's a book of God's will for mankind. There's many answers that one can give to this, but the answer that Rashi gives, he said it's because the nations of the world will say to the Jews, you are foreign colonialists, you are thieves, you conquered the land with no right. Sound familiar? And he said, but the Jews will respond, God is the creator of heaven and earth, and he assigned this land for us. Amazing. But what Rashi's telling us is that that's the only thing that's going to hold water. That argument. And it happens to be the one argument we haven't used. It's the one argument that our enemies know and will actually respect. See, for too long we've been trying to dance to secular standards, secular tunes, and thinking that will somehow save us. But it doesn't work, and the nations don't listen. The more we completely, adhere to the highest Western moral standards of war, the more we're called genociders. And we're just trying to get back our people and destroy an enemy. It seems like what Rashi is saying is they're not going to treat us the same as everyone else. If we want to be treated like everyone else and just have a place among the nations, as was the title of Netanyahu's, one of his oldest books, then that strategy is doomed to fail. We will never just have a place among the nations and be treated like everyone else. They will always treat us differently because they know we are different. And the more we insist that they treat us like everyone else, they're just going to get more aggravated. They know we are different. But difference doesn't have to be a bad thing. It can be a very good thing if we just express that to them clearly and plainly. And let's not forget that our war is not with the West, it's in the Middle East. And the two things they respect in the Middle East is showing uncompromising strength, which we haven't always done in Israel's history, is too much appeasement. And number two is invoking the name of God as justification for what we do. That's what they'll respect ultimately. Yes, they're going to need a theological reassessment, but they respect God. So they know who we are, and that's why I have this picture up here, and that's why I wanted to bring to your attention that they call it the Al-Aqsa flood, because for them, they know who we are, they know what this is about. And if we do too, that will be, in my view, the key to resolving this for good. I want to dedicate this video for a speedy and complete recovery for Rabbi Goldberger of Minneapolis, Chaim Yitzchak ben Chaya Bracha. Thank you so much for watching. Hi, thank you so much for watching. To watch another one, click here. To stay up to date with all our content, click here to subscribe. And if you're able to, you can help support JTV to grow and grow by clicking join below this video, where you can become a member and get perks including early access to videos and private live discussions with me. But most of all, you'll be partnering with us on our mission to change the world.